Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Sadguru Charanaravinda-bhyam Namaham. Brahma Sutras, second chapter, Avirodha Adhyayaha. Smrityadhikaranam Smrityanavakasha dosha prasangaha iti chet na anya smrityanavakasha dosha prasangat Itaresham cha anupalabdhehe yoga pratyuktadhikaranam etene yoga pratyuktaha vilakshanatvadhikaranam na vilakshanatvadasya tatatvam cha shabdhat abhimani vyabadeshastu vishesha anugadibhyam drishyate thum asaditi chet na pradishedamatrattvat apitau tadvat prasangat asamanjasam natu drishtanta bhavat swapakshadoshacha tarka pratishthanat apyanyata anumeyamiti chet evamapi anirmoksha prasangaha sishta parigrahadhikaranam etena sishta parigraha api vyakyataha bhoktrapatyadhikaranam bhoktrapatyehe avibhagaschet Syallokavate Arambhanadhikaranam Tadananyatvam Arambhana Shabdadibhyaha Bhavechopalabdehe Satva Chavarasya Asadvyapadeshatneti chet Na Dharmantarena Vakya Seshat Yukte Shabdantaracham Patavacham Yetacha Pranadi Itara Vyapadeshadhikaranam Itara Vipedeshad Hita Akaranadi dosha prasaktihi Adhikam tu Bhedan Nirdeshat Ashamadi Vacha Tat Anupapattihi Upasamhara Darshanadhikaranam Upasamhara Darshananni Tichet Nakshira Vadhim Deva Divate Api Loke Krishna Prasaktidhikaranam Krishna Prasaktihim Niravayavatva Shabdakopovam. This is the 26th sutra of this pada, 160th running Brahma Sutra. So we saw in the last class that the Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, all these philosophers, they say Vedantin's teaching is fundamentally illogical and defective. Because Vedantins, what do they say? They say Brahman is Nityam and Brahman is also Karanam. Nityatvam and Karanatvam cannot coexist in one substance. For example, when a seed becomes a tree, the seed gets destroyed and tree comes. Therefore, Vedantins fundamentally violate the important law. That is why they said Samanvayaha Asiddhaha. You try to establish Samanvaya in the first chapter of Brahma Sutra. Purvapakshi is still Vedantins. You try to establish Samanvaya in the first chapter of Brahma Sutra. Nityam Brahma Jagat Karanam is your teaching. And Purvapaksha's contention is that Vedantins premise that Brahman is Nityam and Karanam does not hold water. This is Purvapaksha's objection. Now we will see Siddhantin's answer. The Siddhantin says, O Purvapaksha, Pakshi, you should accept the basic agreement that we all have. If not, there will be a problem. What is that? You know very well. We discussed the problem of Karanam of the universe. Jagat Karanam is what we are talking about. We are not talking about the cause of a yogurt, whether milk self-destroys to become yogurt or not. We discussed the cause of space, time, and we are in the field of cosmology. We know that with respect to the cause of universe, perception and logic will not work, which we have already agreed upon. If you take logic and perception, you will end up with what? Satkaryavada or Asatkaryavada, which we have discussed and negated also earlier. Mandukya Karika, chapters 3 and 4, elaborately discussed all that. And the basic lesson is that we are supposed to have understood what? Jagat Karana Vishaye pratyaksham anumanancha na pramanam. When it comes to jagat karana vishaya, pratyaksha or anumana, they are not pramanam. Naisha tarkena matirapaneya. Isa in Katopanishad. Aniyan hetarkyam anupramanat. We have seen all these vakyas. We have seen all these statements in Katopanishad and other places. Beauty of Advaitam is what? Advaitam logically proves that logic is defective. Advaitam logically proves that logic is defective. And it does not work with respect to Jagat Karana Vishaya. Achintya Kalu Ye Bhavaha Natam Starkena Yojayet. Achintya Kalu Ye Bhavaha Natam Starkena Yojayet. Upanishad again said. So there are things which are beyond pratyaksham and anumanam, and we call those topics as what? Apaurushaya Vishaya. So these things we have already discussed, we have agreed upon. So Siddhantin tells Purvapakshi, we have already agreed upon, we have discussed this, and there is no need to discuss this again here. Since pratyaksha and anumana do not work, we have decided to take the Shruti, Vedas as the only source of knowledge. These are all the arguments, the agreements we have already made. Pratyakshe nanu mityavam yastupayo na vidyate yenam vindanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. The very definition of Veda is what? That means of knowledge which deals with only those topics which are beyond perception and logic. Science, logic means science. It is very nicely said, where physics ends, metaphysics begins. Therefore, we are in the meta field. We should not forget that. And whatever Veda teaches is the conclusion. And we cannot question the conclusions of Vedas. For science, ultimate pramanam is sense organs. In the Apaurushaya Vishaya, Veda Shastram is final. And this has been accepted by the Purvapakshi. That is the Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, all of them accepted it. Now we should see what Veda says about Jagat Karanam itself. Just as sense organs report of the sense organs is final in science, Veda's reporting is final in spiritual matters. Veda says Brahman is both Nityam and Karanam. For this, there is Shruti support in various Upanishads and also in Bhagavad Gita. Not only Brahman is Nityam, but also Brahman is Karanam. Brahman can be both Nityam and Karanam and never question the conclusion. All logic should be used not to question the conclusion, but logic should be used to understand the conclusion, assimilate the conclusion, but never question the conclusion. Because it is Shruti based, Veda based. The mistake committed by the Sankhya is what? Sankhya questions the conclusions of the Vedas. Vedantin say use logic to assimilate the conclusion given by the Vedas. And the Purvapakshi asks, how can I digest the conclusion that Brahman is Nityam and Karana? When you say Brahman is Karanam, it is Upadana Karanam. Brahman has become the universe. It is Shruti statement number 1. Brahman has become the universe. And when you say Brahman has become the creation, it means Brahman has destroyed itself to become the creation, like the seed becoming a tree. However, the second statement, what does it say? Brahman has not become the creation. If it becomes the creation, the Brahman will destroy itself. How are we going to reconcile these two statements? It has become the universe, so Brahman is Karanam. Brahman has become creation means Brahman has destroyed itself to become creation. And the second statement is what? Brahman is eternal, which means Brahman has not become the creation. Brahman appears as the creation. This has been done by Acharyas who studied the seemingly contradictory statements. Brahman has become the world without becoming the world. So we will go in the right direction. That is proved by the Shruti itself. Again, somebody's, I don't know who is, microphone is still on. iPad 2, whomsoever is that. So now we have to, so ajayamano bahuda vijayate. Ajayamanaha, without becoming the world. Bahuda vijayate, it has become the world. And again, Bhagavad Gita says, Ajo pisannavyayatmam bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Though I am unborn and myself is imperishable, I am imperishable, though I am the Lord of all creatures, yet establishing myself in my own nature, I come into being through my power of Maya. The Lord says, without being born, I am born. Ajaha. I am not born without being born. How can I reconcile that? Only in one way, that Brahman is seemingly born, not really born, apparently born, as creation without really becoming creation. And such Upadana Karanam has got a special name. We already mentioned in the last class. It is called Vivarta Karanam. When a cause seemingly becomes an effect, without really becoming the effect, it is called Vivarta Karanam. And when it becomes an effect, it is called Parinama Upadana Karanam. So really, becoming something else is Parinama Karanam. Without destroying itself, remaining as it is, seemingly becoming something else is Vivarta Karana. That is how the intellect should assimilate this. So whenever cause is Vivarta Karanam, product is of lesser order of reality. This also we mentioned. Parinami Karanam and the effect, the Karyam, have the same order of reality. Vivarta Karanam and Vivarta Karyam is, one is higher order of reality, namely Vivarta Karanam, and the other Vivarta Karyam is lower order of reality. The Upanishad itself gives the Swapna, dream example. For example, you become a river in a dream without becoming a river. You become Brahma Vivarta Karanam, and it can have Nityatvam also simultaneously, Karanam and Nityatvam both. Here Vedantins say they counter question the Purva Pakshi. Sankhya and Nyaya Vaiseshika philosophers, he asked them, you are not willing to accept Brahman both as Nityam and Karana. This is your conclusion. Let me ask you a question, O Sankhya. What is the Jagat Karanam according to you? And Vyasacharya asked this yoga philosophers also. He has come to my point now. Vyasacharya asked, is your Pradhanam, Prakriti, Nityam or Anityam? And Sankhya Yoga philosopher, he says Pradhanam is Nityam and Jagat Karanam also. So Nitya Pradhanam is Jagat Karanam, he says. So when I say Nityam Brahman is Jagat Karanam, you say how can Brahman be Nityam and Karanam? But you yourself say Pradhanam is Nityam and Karanam. How can that be possible? It also violates the same rule. Thus when Sankhya and Yoga are dismissed, then the Nyaya Vaiseshika philosopher, he comes. And he says, you Vedantins should follow me. Vedantins ask them also, what is your Jagat Karanam? And he says, Anuhu or Paramanu is Jagat Karanam. And then Vedantins ask the question, is your Paramanu Nityam or Anityam? Here Paramanu also is said to be both Nityam and Karanam. So whatever be the reason, if you can accept Paramanu and Pradhanam as both Nityam and Karanam, you can accept Brahman also in the same manner. So all the three, they enjoy the same status. Sankhya, Yoga, they both say Pradhanam is Nityam and Jagat Karanam. Nyaya Vaiseshikas, they say Paramanu is Nityam and Jagat Karanam. And Vedantins say Brahman is Nityam and Jagat Karanam. So either all the three must be equally right, or all the three must be equally wrong. Since all three enjoy the same status of Nityatvam and Karanatvam. And we say, if all the three are equal, then there should be somebody more equal here. We should vote for Brahman only because it is supported by Vedic teaching alone. Pradhanam and Paramanu have no support from Vedas for creation. Since Brahman has Shrautatvam, Shruti support, Vedic support, Brahman alone enjoys the Nityatvam and Karanatvam of Jagat, the creation. Brahman can be Abhinna nimitta, upadana, karana. We have used all these terms earlier. There is no logical objection when nityatvam and karanatvam are together with respect to Brahman. Now we will give the same idea in a different format. In the last class I mentioned there are two formats. One format is just what we discussed. I will give the other format. Just to refresh, the parinami karanam and nityatvam cannot coexist, whereas vivarta karanam and nityatvam can coexist. And only thing that we should notice is, in the case of vivarta karanam, the product will be of a lesser order of reality. If vivarta karanam is paramarthika satyam, the higher order of reality, the vivarta karyam, the world, the jagat, will be vyavaharika satyam, of a lower order of reality. The waker, for example, the waker is paramarthika satyam, and the dream is pratibhasika satyam. It is based on this importance principle only. Shankaracharya has written in his Brahmajnanavali Mala, we have seen this portion. I once in some other context, I recited the entire Brahmajnanavali Mala. The slokas 20, based on Viveka Chudamani sloka. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha Anena Vedyam Yachahastram Iti Vedanta Dindimaha. Which means the world, the Jagat, they are all of lower order of reality, Mithya. If the world is real, then Brahman should be super real. If Swapna is real, then we will say Jagrat is super real. And if Jagrat is super real, then Brahman will be Maha super real. The order of realities. We are particular that the order of realities differ. They are, what are those? Paramarthika Satyam, Vyavaharika Satyam, and Pratibhasika Satyam. There are two Satyams and one Anritam, accepted by the Shastra. Anritam means unreal. So this concept is not there in any of the 11 darshanas. So many darshanas we have seen. In any of them it is not there. This is the first format. And the Purva-paksha says, if the entire Brahman becomes the world, then no Brahman will remain distinct from the world. And that if a part of Brahman becomes real, the scriptural context, scriptural text, which declares Brahman to be without parts, will be violated. If part of Brahman has to become real, has to become the creation, that means it will be distinct, then the Brahman without parts will be violated. Part and whole cannot be talked about. And now we will come to the second part of the same format of the same Adhikaranam, as I mentioned. In this format, the Purva-paksha happens to be Sankhya philosopher. And behind him, all the other people line up, all the yogas and all the other Purva-pakshis, they line up. So instead of asking whether Brahman is Savayavam or Niravayavam, with parts or without parts, is partless or with parts, let us assume Brahman is partless or Niravayavam. Avayavam, parts, Niravayavam, partless. So if Brahman is partless, no parts, to create the universe, the total Brahman has to undergo a change to produce the universe. And unfortunately, you say, Sankhya philosopher is not aware or accept Vivarta Upadana Karanam at all. Therefore, Sankhya's mind is fixed on Parinami Karanam only. If Brahman has parts, one part of Brahman changes and the other parts do not change. So you cannot take the partial modification to be possible in the case of Brahman, because according to you, Brahman has no parts. It is not like milk becoming yogurt. You cannot say that the top portion becomes milk and the other part becomes yogurt. In case of Brahman, you cannot use a part to become world and the other parts to be as it is. So till the whole Brahman becomes the world, there is no question of Brahman remaining. That is presented now. So when Brahman is not there, but what is available is the world only, there is no Brahman at all, because the entire Brahman has changed to world, then where is the question of Brahma Jnanam? There is no Brahman, it all changed to world. And Brahma Jnanam is not there, where is the question of liberation or moksha? So if there is no Jnanam or moksha, where is the question of Pramanam also? If Brahma Jnanam is not there, there is no Shastram, no Karma Yoga, no Jnana Yoga, no Brahma Sutras also. If Brahman is not there, there is no Jnanam and Moksha. And to solve this problem, this Sankhya philosopher gives another suggestion. He says, Brahman is Savayavam, endowed with parts. If you accept Brahman is Savayavam, your problem is not solved and you will have other problems. Savayavam means Brahman has parts. So one part of Brahman will be intact and the other part will be destroyed and the world will be created. So let the world be part. The world be part of Brahman and another part of Brahman be changeless. Let us assume. We know that Nirvikaram Brahman and Jnanam of Nirvikaram Brahman will give moksha. This is a possible argument. So you know only the Nirvikaram part of it, so you'll gain moksha also. And the Savikaram part of it, Savayam part of it, let it change it to what? His contention may be, Advaitin may forward such a possible solution. This is what Purvapakshi thinks. Brahman is accepted as Savayavam and consequently a part of Brahman may be destroying itself to become the universe and other part being Nirvikaram, one can gain Brahma Jnanam and gain moksha. So the Sankhya philosopher suggests this possibility. And to accept this solution, Advaitin has to accept Brahman as Savayavam with parts. That is, Brahman has parts. But Sankhya philosopher says what? You cannot accept Brahman as endowed with parts because you yourself said Brahman is Niravayavam. So if at all you attempt to say something like that, I am going to put a break on you. That is one of the arguments you have given when you negated the concept of Visishtadvaitam, the Beda Bedavada. In Shankaracharya's time, there is no Visishtadvaitam as we know today. In Shvetasvatara Upanishad, we already quoted this mantra earlier in the 19th mantra. Nishkalam, Nishkriyam, Shantam, Niravadyam, Niranjanam, Amritasya Param Setum, Tagdendanami Vanalam. The one who is without parts, actions or fault, any dosha, taint and tranquil, without any of them, is very tranquil. So if you accept Brahman is without parts, Nishkalam and all that thing, and yet the material cause of the universe, then we have to admit that the entire Brahman modifies into universe only. So there will be then no Brahman left, then Brahma Jnanam is not possible, moksha is not possible in the absence of Brahman. So when Brahma Jnanam is not there, Shastra Pramanam also will not be there. There is karma, etc. All those. Now Advaitin has to answer this premise. On the contrary, if it is said that a portion of Brahman only becomes the universe, then we will have to accept that Brahman is made up of parts, which is denied by the scriptural texts also. Divyo Hemurta Purushaha Sabhahyabhyantaro Hyajaha Aprano Hyamana Shubhraha Hyaksharat Parataparaha Brihadaranyaka in the second chapter. The heavenly person, Purushaha, without body, and he is both within and he is not produced. Again, in Brihadaranyaka, again it is said, Idam Mahadbhutam Anantam Aparam Vijnana Ghanayeva. That great being, that Purushaha, Mahadbhutam, is endless, Anantam, Aparam, unlimited, consisting of nothing but Jnanam, Vijnana Ghanayeva. Again, Brihadaranyaka again says, Sayesha Neti Neti Atma Agrihyaha Nahi Grihyate. Ashiryaha Nahi Shiryate. This entire mantra we have read earlier. That person has to be described only as Neti, Naiti, Naiti, Naiti. This is not this, it is not this, it is not this. And again, Brihadaranyaka again says, Saho Vacha Etad Vaitate Akshara Ghargi Brahmana Abhivadanti Astulam Ananu Akhraswam Adirgam Alohitam Asneham Achayam Atamaha Avayu Anakasham Asangam Achakrushkam Ashrotram Avak Amanaha Atejaskam Apranam Amukam Amatram Anantaram Abahyam Natadashnadi Kinchana Natadashnadi Kaschana. It is neither coarse nor fine. All that thing we have seen, all these mantras. All these passages, they deny the existence of parts or distinctions in Brahman. So whatever has form or parts is perishable. And therefore, Brahman will become perishable or non-eternal if the concept of part Brahman, Brahman endowed with parts, is accepted. These are all the arguments given by the Purvapakshi. Now Siddhanti, he gives the answer. For Purvapakshi, when you ask whether Brahman is Savayavam or Niravayavam, tell me whether it is from the Paramarthika Drishti or Vyavaharika Drishti. We should not mix the orders of reality. We have already agreed upon this. And Advaita will be enjoyable only if we do not mix the degree of reality. As you talk of Srishti, creation, it must be from Vyavaharika Drishti alone. And from Vyavaharika Drishti, Brahman is Savayavam only, endowed with parts only. From the empirical angle, Brahman is Savayavam. Brahman has two amshas. One is the Chetana amsha, the sentient part, amsha. And the other is Achetana amsha, Shakti amsha or Maya amsha. Shakti, Paraprakriti, and Aparaprakriti, all those terms we have used. Once you look Brahman from the Vyavaharika Drishti, generally with Maya Sahitam, Brahman is Ishvara. Ishvara minus Maya is Brahman. Brahman, Ishvara plus Maya is Brahman. So the Brahman plus Maya is Ishvara. It is the modified Brahman with Maya, which creates the world. When I say the world is born out of Brahman, it should be understood that it is with Maya, Shakti, the world is created. The Shakti or Maya is part of Brahman, and it is Savayavam Brahman. The original Brahman, the Chetanam Brahman, continues to be intact. And when we talk about Brahma Jnanam, we talk of Nirvikara Rupam, the Chaitanya Rupam, or changeless Brahman is what we are talking about. Once we realize that the Nirvikara Chaitanya Surupam Brahman, we gain liberation. Once we understand that knowledge, that is self-knowledge. We say Brahman is Niravayavam from Paramarthika Drishti. From whose standpoint of Paramarthika Drishtya, Maya part of Brahman is not there. If there is no Maya Amsha, there is no modification. Only when the Maya Amsha is recognized, there will be modification. And then there will be no creation, no liberation. Paramarthika Drishtya, there is no Maya, there is no sadhana, there is no Srishti, none of them from the Paramarthika angle or absolute reality angle. Paramarthika Brahman is not Karanam also. All the creation, whatever we talk about, and what follows creation, they are all from Vyavaharika plane only. Therefore, there is no contradiction in accepting Savayavatvam, Brahman endowed with parts, and Niravayavatvam without any parts. One from the Paramarthika Drishti, Niravayavatvam, and other creation from the Vyavaharika angle. So we boldly admit we are Visishtadvaitins also from Vyavaharika angle. Once we shift to Paramarthika angle, we are in Advaita. This is the important teaching conveyed in this Adhikaram. Now let us see the general analysis of the first sutra, because this should be both the drishtis, Paramarthika drishti and Vyavaharika drishti should be understood. So the whole sutra, as I told you, is a Purvapaksha sutra. The first part of the sutra establishes the dosha. If we take Brahman as partless, and there will be total transformation, and the Brahman will not be available. Because if Brahman has no parts, and the Brahman has to become the world, the entire Brahman has to change into world, and there will be no Brahman left, only the world that is created alone will be there. That Brahman will not be available. And the second point is, if Brahman is accepted as Savayava, endowed with parts, it will contradict the statement of Niravayavatvam, because we have already told Brahman is Niravayavam in the Shruti. Now let us see the word. This is the Purvapaksha. These are the doubts and these are the issues. Now let us see the word analysis. Krishna prasaktihi niravayavacha shabdakopova. This is 26th sutra. And Krishna prasaktihi, if Brahman is the cause, there is the possibility of the total transformation of Brahman. And niravayavatva shabdakopahava. The contradiction is what? Shruti statement which reveals the partlessness of Brahman. The significance of the word is what? Krishna prasaktihi, total. By the word total, Sankhya, he implies total transformation will come if you accept Brahman as Niravayavam, without parts. The entire Brahman will change. The whole Brahman will destroy itself when you accept Niravayavam. And after destruction, Brahman will not be there and will be followed by absence of Brahman and all that. This is the objection number 1. Then Niravayavam means partlessness of Brahman. So Shabda means Shruti, the Vedic statements. Shabdakopava, the Vedic statements that reveal partlessness of Brahman. Given above that we have to understand. That's not given in the sutra, we have to understand. So this is the violation of Shruti when you claim Brahman as endowed with parts, Savayavam. So 2 doshas, if you assume both Niravayavam and Savayavam, 2 doshas we got. Now Sankhya has separated Purusha from Prakriti. And all systems accept more than one. Now, except Advaitam, all systems accept more than one. Now, we will go to the next sutra. So, this is the Purvapaksha Sutra only. Next sutra we have to go and see. Shrutestu Shabda Moolatvat. This is the 27th sutra. Shrutestu Shabda Moolatvat, 161st, running Brahma Sutra. So, the objection raised in the 25th sutra is further refuted here. And in this Adhikaranam, the Purvapakshi makes an objection to the Vedantin's teaching in Sutra 26 that we already saw. And he asked the question whether Brahman is Savayavam, endowed with parts, or Niravayavam, without parts. Brahman endowed with parts or partless. And the Purvapakshi pointed out in the previous sutra that we just saw, either way you will have a problem. Whether it is Savayavam or Niravayavam, you will have a problem. If it is Savayavam, it will be perishable. It will be Anityam, being of parts. And our answer is what? Brahman is both Savayavam and Niravayavam. It is both. And we say we have got Shruti Pramanam for that. In Sankhya philosophy, Prakriti is independent entity. But in Advaitam, Shakti, Maya is integral part of Brahman. In Sankhya philosophy, Purusha and Prakriti are 2 independent entities. In Advaitam, Shakti is integral part of Brahman. It is the Maya part of Brahman that undergoes changes to form creation. The Maya aspect. All the Pancha Bhutas, the Sukshma Shariram, the Stula Shariram, all are modifications of Prakriti, or Achetana Amsha Brahman, all the Panchabhutas, 5 elements, Sukshma Shariram, Pancha Jnanendriyani, Pancha Karmendriyani, Pancha Pranadayaha, Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, all these 19. And the gross body, all are modifications of Prakriti only, or Achetana Amsha of Brahman. Even after the arrival of Jiva, Jagat, Chetana Amsha of Brahman continues to be the same. Even after Srishti, even after creation of Jiva and Jagat, the sentient aspect of Brahman continues to be the same and is available for realization to gain moksha. One can gain self-knowledge to gain moksha even after creation has happened. The Savayavam Amsha of Brahman is behind the formation of the entire creation. That is the Maya part. In Bhagavad Gita, also in the 10th chapter, Krishna says, Athava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna. Vishtabhya ahamidam kritsnam ekamshena sthito jagat ekamshena sthita jayat. I support the entire universe, pervading it with a single fraction of myself, ekamshena. And Purusha Suktam also says, Pado osya vishwa bhutani kripadasya divim kripadurdvavu dait purushaha pado osyeha bhavat punaha. All this only is a description of his greatness. Purusha himself is much, much, much more than any of these. Therefore, Brahman is Savayavam, Shruti support is there. 1 quarter is this, 1 quarter is that, all that thing it says. Brahman is Niravayavam, for which also Shruti support is there. Brahman is Nishkalam, it is said in Shvetasvatara Upanishad that we already read. Chandogya also says that. In many Upanishads, the Niravayavatvam of Brahman has been declared. We have seen it in many places. How can Brahman be both Savayavam and Niravayavam in one locus, namely Brahman? Is it not illogical? This is the question by the Purvapakshi. For that, Shankaracharya, he gives the answer. He says, Savayavatvam is of lower order of reality. It is part of Brahman, but the same as Brahman. It is called Mithya or Vyavaharika Satyam. Vyavaharika Satyam is equal to Mithya. It is Avidya Kalpitam. Vyavaharika Satyam is equal to Mithya. It is Avidya Kalpitam, arising out of ignorance. Shakti part of Brahman is Mithya. Prakriti part of Brahman is Mithya. Savayavam part of Brahman is also Mithya. Ishvara status also is Vyavaharika Satyam only, otherwise Mithya. Because of that, creation has come, and this creation is also otherwise known as Mithya only. So also, Dvaita Janya Samsara is also Mithya. Then what about the Guru, Sishya, Sadhanani and all that thing? That is also Vyavaharika Satyam only or Mithya only. Nirvana Shatkam Acharya very nicely says, Na me mrityu shanka, na me jati bhedaha, pita naiva me naiva mata na janma, na bandhur na mitram, gurur naiva sishyaha. No Guru, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. Ultimately, when I say I am liberated, means what? The event of liberation is also Vyavaharika Satyam only or Mithya. Therefore, Brahmanaha, Savayavatvam, Ishwaratvam, Jagat Karanatvam, Etat Sarvam Vyavaharikam. All of them. Paramarthika Drishyam, Brahman is Niravayavam. Therefore, Jagat Karanatvam api nasti. Ishwaratvam api nasti. That is the problem. There is no Jagat Karanatvam also. There is no Ishwaratvam also. That is the problem. And this is the answer given. Now let us go do the word analysis of the sutra. Shrutestu Shabda Moolatvat is the sutra. Shrutestu Shabda Moolatvat. First, let us see the running meaning of this sutra. Shrutestu. Shrutestu is made up of 2 words. It's a compound word. Shrutehe plus tu. Tu, let us take the word tu first. Tu refers to the objection is not valid. Shrutehe, because there are Shruti statements. So the objection that the Purvapakshi gives is not valid because there are Shruti statements revealing the partial transformation at Vyavaharika level. That is to be understood. It is not given in the sutra. We have to understand. We have to supply that meaning. Because there are Shruti statements revealing the partial transformation at Vyavaharika level. Vyavaharika level, very important. All this partial, total and all only at Vyavaharika level. Shabda Moolatvat. And because there are Shruti statements revealing the partlessness, Niravayavatvam of Brahman at Paramarthika level. Shabda Moolatvat only is there because there are Shruti statements. We have to supply other things revealing the partlessness, Niravayavatvam of Brahman. At Paramarthika level, we have to understand. Therefore, there is no contradiction. Now we will see the significance of the words. The first word is Shrutehe. Shrutehe to Shrutehe, because of the Shruti statement, Vedic statement. So, Heto Panchami. So here the word Shrutehe is used to show that there are Shruti statements revealing the Savayavatvam of Brahman, and the Shruti Vakyam referred is in Purusha Suktam, as I mentioned. Etavanasya Mahima Ato Jyayagasya Purushaha Padosya Vishwabhutani Tripadasya Amritam Divi. And the crucial line is here what? Padaham Asya Vishwabhutani. Padaha means a part, a quarter is the whole creation. The quarter of the entire of the Brahman, a part only is the whole creation. Which part it is? The Maya part of Brahman is the whole creation. Maya Amsha of Brahman. And the 3 quarters, Tripadasya Amritam Divi. 3 quarters are above creation, and it indicates the Brahman Amsam. It is a figurative use. So we should not immediately think there are parts, 1 quarter is this and 3 quarters are all this. We should not imagine. This is a figurative use. And this mantra occurs in Chandogya also, in the 3rd chapter, 12th section, 6th mantra, where Shankaracharya actually refers to Chandogya mantra only in his Bhashya. Tavanasya Mahima Tato Jyayagasya Purushaha Padosya Sarva Bhutani Tripadasya Amritam Divi. This mantra is very similar to the mantra we have in Purusha Sutta. And the next word is tu. Tu indicates the negation of Purvapakshi's objection. Tu. Then Shabda Moolatvat, because of Shruti Pramana. Shabda refers to Shruti, Moolatvat, Pramana. So Shabdaha Shrutihi, Moolam means Pramanam, Yasya, Tat Shabda Moolam, Tasya Bhavaha, so Shabda Moolam, Tasmat. Therefore, the final meaning is what? Because of Shruti Pramanam, here the word Shabda Moolatvat refers to those Shruti statements, those Vedic statements, which reveal the Niravayavatvam of Brahman, partlessness of Brahman. Niravayavatvam is partlessness. Therefore, both refer to Shruti Pramanam only. And the first is the Shruti Pramanam is for Savayavatvam, that is the Purusha Sukta and all that. And second is for Niravayavatvam. Both are given here as Pramanas. So, Shabda Moolatvat Niravayavatpasya cha. So, and what is the Shruti statement now? Kept in mind that we have told this before in Mundaka Upanishad, 2nd chapter, 2nd section, 9th mantra. Hiranmaye pare koshe virajam brahma nishkalam. In Mundaka, we have seen the 2nd Mundaka, 2nd section. Therefore, there is no problem. Hiranmaye pare koshe virajam brahma nishkalam. No parts. And that is why for Advaitin, the Vyavaharika Paramarthika Veda becomes extremely important for him. And Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is very clearly said, Yatrahi Dvaitam iva bhavati, tat itara itaram jigrati, itara itaram pashyati, itara itaragam shrunoti, itara itaram abhivadati, yatrava asya sarvam atma vabhutam, tat kenakam jigret, tat kenakam pashyet, tat kenakagam shrunyat, all that. And in the avidya avastha, there is Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat, that Veda is there in the avidya avastha. Only Karya Karana Vedaha, Sadhaka Siddha Vedaha, all those. All these differences are there only in the avidya avastha. In vidya avastha, ekatvam anupashyataha. Tatra ko mohaha, ko shokaha. Where is moham, delusion or shokam, dukkham? Ekatvam anupashyata. Where you see only one. Where is moham or shoka? Once this topic comes, Vidya and Avidya, they both come. Shankaracharya gives so many Shruti statements which very clearly differentiate avastha bheda. Mrityoho sa mrityumapnoti yaiha naneva pashyati. One who sees plurality, mrityoho, from he goes from death to death. Adrishye anatmiye nirukte anilayane abhayam pratishtam indate. Taitriya we have seen. Therefore, paramarthika drishtya advaitam. Vyavaharika drishtya dvaitam. Dvaitam va visishtadvaitam va. Both are acceptable. So we say Vyavaharika Drishtya, empirically real. This has functional validity. Let us go to the next adhikaranam called Kritsna Prasakti Adhikaranam, the same next sutra. Atmani Chaivam Vichitraschahi is the sutra, 28th sutra, 162 running Brahma Sutra. Atmani Chaivam Vichitraschahi. The objection raised again in Sutra 26 is being refuted by an illustration here. And in this, Vyasacharya, he points out, two orders of reality are possible, and it is not an unknown thing to us, because it's not something hypothetical. Vivarta Upadana Karanam is possible and is very much acceptable also. God has given us the example of Swapna, the dream. Here, Waker does not change the Vyavaharika status, and without losing his status, projects a Swapna Prapancha, a dream world. I use Nidra Shakti for Swapna Prapancha, and for Jagrat Prapancha, I use Maya Shakti. So Nidra Shakti for creating the dream world, and Maya Shakti to create the waker's world, Jagrat Prapancha. Individual power is Nidra Shakti and total power is Maya Shakti. My creator status is real, but the richness status, for example, in dream, I got a lottery and became very rich. That status governed by dream is unreal. With respect to Swapna Prapancha, I am the creator. I am the Ishvara. I created the entire Swapna Prapancha. Swapna Prapancha is real at the level of dream. And until I wake up, Swapna Prapancha is very much valid. Swapna food can satisfy Swapna hunger. It has a subjective reality. In its own plane, it has reality. My creative power is so much in dream. I can create everything, including all Jivarasis and all other things. I create without undergoing any change, without any help from any external resource. The waker is Ishvara in producing an apparent dream world. Similarly, Brahman is Ishvara in creating an apparent waking world. If ordinary Jiva can create an apparent dream world, why can't Brahman with Maya Shakti create an apparent waking world? Therefore, example is also there for what? Two orders of reality. Thus, Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika Bedam is the Drishtanta example for Vyavaharika Paramarthika Beda. The subjective reality and the empirical reality, that is the example we have to understand. We give to understand the empirical reality and absolute reality. So the subjective reality and empirical reality is the example that we give to understand the empirical reality and absolute reality of Brahma. This is the gist of this sutra. Now let us do the word analysis. Atmani Chaivam Vichitrascha Hi. Let us see the running meaning first. Vichitraha means manifold, manifold creation. This is known or experienced. Atmani in the case of Jivatma, in the form of dream. That all have to be supplied. They are not the sutra. So manifold Vichitraha means manifold creation. We have to supply is known or experienced. Atmani in the case of Jivatma. Here Atma refers to Jivatma. In the form of dream, we have to supply. Cha. Cha means and. In the case of magician, for example, so like so many people, examples are given. In the form of magical products, a magician creates a lot of magical products. It is not said in the sutra, but Shankaracharya, he takes that for the meaning of cha. Actually, that is why in Dakshinamurti Sutra also, there's a beautiful shloka. Bijasyantarivankuro jagadidam prangmirvikalpam punaha maya kalpita deshakala kalanam vaichitriya chitrikritam maya viva vijrimbayatyapi maha yogi vayasvechaya tasmai shri guru murtaye namayidam shri dakshina murtaye mayavi iva vijrimbayati api maha yogi iva. Therefore, cha means and in the case of Mayavi, a magician, in the form of magical magician's products, whatever he has created by magic. Therefore, evam. Evam means a similar creation is possible. In the case of Brahman also, we have to supply. Okay. Now we will see the significance of the words. These are running meaning. Let us see the significance of the various words. First one is Atmani. Atmani refers to in the self. Here, by using the word Atmani, Vyasacharya indicates the Jivatma, the individual Jivatma, who is the creator of this Swapna Prapancha, the dream world. The individual Jivatma is the creator of the Swapna Prapancha. So, yourself, for example, there is no, you don't have to go anywhere else for the example. You yourself is the example or the example. Atmani means in yourself, Atmani. As we saw again in Dakshinamurti Stotra, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantar Gatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bhagirivod Bhutam Yata Nidraya. Yatha Nidraya. That is the example. Atmani Nidraya. I create a Swapna Prapancha, a dream world of lower order of reality. Brahman creates a Jagrat Prapancha. I create a Swapna Prapancha. Therefore, mine is a lower order compared to Brahman. Therefore, Atmani means Jivatmani, Vishve Ityartaha. We take all these meanings. Then Cha is the conjunction. It indicates other examples also. Like such as magicians or the Siddha Purusha, they create so many things. One who has got a lot of Siddhis, Trishanku Sorgam, they are created. They also can create hallucinations and all that. And that is indicated by the word Cha. Then Yevam. Yevam means similar creation is possible for Brahman. Similarly, such a creation is possible for Brahman also. So if Vyavaharika Jiva can create Pratibhasika Swapna, Paramarthikam Brahma can create Vyavaharika Prapancha. Vyavaharika Jiva can create Pratibhasika Swapna, Paramarthikam Brahma can create Vyavaharika Prapancha. What is the problem here? That is the question the Siddhantins ask all the Purvapakshis. Therefore, Evam Sambhavati. And the next word is what? Vichitraha Cha. And there are two chas here in the sutra. Vichitraha means manifold creation. In waking, I am limited. Primarily by so many things like money, for example, having finances, wealth and all that. I am limited in the waking state. And so many other factors are all there. If I have to create a house in the waking state, it is all so tough. Whereas in the dream state, in dream srishti, my Shakti is what? Ananta Shakti, infinite power I have. I can create not just one house, I can create a world itself. Vichitraha, manifold. And this is for the one cha. The second cha, it can be taken for conjunction with the previous sutra. Okay. For this Vyasacharya, he need not give any Shruti support because dream is of a lower order of reality is a very evident thing to all of us. He doesn't need any Shruti support to show this. Incidentally, in Visishtadvaitam, dream is also accepted as real. They say everything that happens in dream is real. We are not discussing that aspect now. We are assuming that everybody agrees that the dream is unreal. We are arguing based on the assuming based on that premise. That is why whenever something is unreal, what do we ask? Are you daydreaming? Are you seeing a dream? That's what we are asking. Therefore, even in the Laukika view, in day-to-day life, it is very clear that dream is unreal. Therefore, we are accepting that, and so we state that the dream is unreal. We don't require Shruti Pramanam for that. Veda does not have to come to prove for us to understand the dream is unreal. But still Shankaracharya gives Shruti Pramanam as a further support. And that is the quotation from Brihadaranya Upanishad from Swayam Jyoti Brahmana. We have seen all this Swayam Jyoti Brahmana and all very elaborately. I think I recited the entire Brahma Jnana Vadimala during the discussion when I concluded Swayam Jyoti Brahmana. This is the 4th chapter, 3rd section, 10th mantra. Na tatra rathaha, na rathayogaha, na pantanaha bhavanti. Ata rathan rathayogan pataha sujate. Na tatra ananda mudaha pramudo bhavanti. एतानन्दान् मुदः प्रमुदः सृजते न तत्र वेशान्ताः पुष्करिण्यः स्रवन्त्यो भवन्ति अत वेशान्तान् पुष्करिणीः स्रवन्तीः सृजते स हि कर्ता न तत्र रथाः रथयोगाः पन्तानः there is no chariot no ratha yoga. Ratha yoga means the yoga is horses. Ratham tied with horses. Pantha path. There is no way, no highway. None of those things are not there. All those things are not there at all, as given in the Swayamjyoti Brahmanam at the time of awakening. It is always said in Swapna only. They are all realities in Swapna, in the dream. For the Swapna to be unreal, you don't have to require Shruti Pramanam at all. Still Shankaracharya gives the Shruti Pramanam in his Bhashyam, and because he said this, we are also reading that here. So let us go to the next sutra in the next class. Yo vedadau swara prokto vedante cha pratishtitah tasya prakatilinasya parasamaheshwaraha purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavasishyate om shanti shanti shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.